A triple shooting in Etobicoke. It happened last night at a plaza in the Rexdale neighborhood. Police continue to search for suspects tonight. And as Kelda Yoon reports, those in the area say this has become an all too familiar scene.
In daylight, you can see the bullet holes clearly. Remnants of a shooting that happened in this plaza on Kipling near Finch. When police got here around 9 last night, they found a man inside without vital signs. He remains in hospital tonight, fighting for his life. 2 others also suffered gunshot wounds. Mani Ram owns a restaurant inside the plaza. He says patrons were jolted by the sounds of gunshots.
They are very scared, even they pack their food, and we also trying to help them. Please don't worry, we relax and we pack your food.
While most people frantically tried to leave, Reverend Delroy Sherman, a first responder chaplain, rushed to the scene.
It was like chaos when I came here. People were just panic over there trying to rush into their cars to get out because they don't know what's going to happen next.
It occurred in the plaza, so of course they'll be trying to get security video from the various business owners and trying to speak with witnesses. We received quite a few calls around 9 o'clock reporting the sound of gunshots, so a lot of people actually heard the shots. And
while it's not known if the shooting was gang-related, Sherman says youth gang violence has become a big problem in the area.
This kind of forest fire, if we don't try to extinguish the fire, it's going to spread, and you see it spreading right now.
Earlier this week, Organized Crime Reduction Minister Bill Blair announced new funding to combat youth crime in Toronto, but some say even more needs to be done, including Sherman, who says those in his community want more open ears from all levels of government.
We need them to come to the town hall meetings and hear the people out, hear what they have to say, and work with us as the community leaders, work with us, and we can solve the crime. You have to get to the root cause.
Meanwhile, Mani Ram is also worried that this will hurt his new business.
Last night I was thinking how we going to run this business here if this kind of happening going to be.
Police say 2 men were seen fleeing the scene. They are asking anyone with information to call them. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
A woman believed to be in her 30s is dead and 2 others are injured after an early morning crash in Yorkville. The collision prompting a plea from police for people to drive carefully.
If you're tired, if you're distracted, or you have consumed any kind of substances that would impair your ability to drive a motor vehicle, do not drive. Lives of individuals are at the jeopardy, and if somebody passes away as a result of these things, we can never bring a dead person back.
Emergency crews were called to the intersection of Davenport Road and Hazelton Avenue around 6:30 this morning. A man also believed to be in his 30s was taken to hospital, and a 3rd person was treated at the scene. Police said one of the vehicles rolled over in the collision. Davenport is now open after being closed for several hours today. A few kids' sports teams got in the holiday spirit today by giving back. The students helped pack 840 care packages for families in Syria. It all started with an offer to Global Medic. Take a look.
We said, listen, if your kids can come out and pack these family emergency kits, we'll get them delivered to people in that war zone in Syria.
People don't always realize that other people may not have as much as you, so I think it's important to help out the people who don't have as much as you and really get them through it.
It's the spirit of giving.
It's a war zone, and it's been going on for a while, and there's kids our age that are in refugee camps that are it doesn't look like a great place, and so I want to make sure I can be as helpful for them as possible.
People, they need like these resources and stuff.
We usually have a holiday party each year, and this year they said, instead of doing a party where we're spending money and getting gifts for each other, why don't we do something a little different where we have an experience as a team? It's a good bonding exercise. It's going to be a good memory for them as they enjoy their own gifts at Christmas to kind of think about what they've done for somebody else who needs something in our world.
I think I take for granted how much I have, and so I want to give back to people in need, especially people in a war zone.
Like, we have a cheer at the end of a practice, MFTT, Me Family Team Toronto. So like me, like look after yourself. F for family, look after your family. Team,
respectful,
and then team, and then Toronto. It's like look after your community and look after everything outside of it as well.
From caroling to choirs, a big part of Christmas is the holiday tunes. And one group is making sure everyone in Toronto can access the joy of music. This is all through an event called Messiah for the City. Natalie Nanowski joins us live from St. Andrew's Church on Simcoe Street tonight. Natalie, it just wrapped up. What was the reaction from the audience?
It was pure joy, Talia. Everyone was just completely elated. Now, the church has cleared out now, but if you can imagine, it was packed. There were about 500 people, and when the concert ended, there was a standing ovation. So, of course, you could just picture the force of all that. Now, the tickets for this event are completely free. The United Way hands them out to people, to the less fortunate, people who would otherwise not be able to afford the luxury of a concert. Now, this event all started about 10 years ago, and it was the brainchild of former NDP leader Jack Layton.
The vision came from the late Jack Layton, and his idea was to bring together people who couldn't afford probably to go to a concert version of Messiah.
It's a way to spend time with community that we wouldn't normally have access to, who wouldn't normally access us. Well, the Messiah is telling a very big story, not only like everything from Old Testament to New, the Christian story. I think, though, as an auditor, like as a person in the audience, what you're getting is this incredibly generous and dramatic musical performance that goes from intensities and joyousness, like it's all over the place with the heart. Almighty God, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace.
It made me feel that it was joyful and peace and happy because it was around people that were friends and family, and we should always have that in the community.
I loved it. I love this type of music, and I always go to symphonies and all this, and I've seen them before.
It really puts you in the holiday spirit?
Yeah, I got my hat and my Christmas sweater and everything.
I love it. There you have it. Everyone seemed to love it, Talia. Now, those voices, that's the work of 3 different choirs, and all of that music put everyone here in the Christmas spirit.
And a nice story to put you in the holiday spirit. Thanks, Natalie. We're just 3 days out from Christmas, and Mayor John Tory spent the day mingling with families enjoying the Toronto Christmas market. It's a holiday tradition for many Torontonians. Tomorrow is the last day to check out the event happening in the Distillery District. And Amanda Weldon joins us now for a first look at our forecast. Amanda, we just ran a lot of holiday spirit stories, but I don't feel like the weather quite matches the spirit that we're all in.
Well, Talia, I'm going to tell you what our chances are of a white Christmas next time we're together. So I'm going to bury the lead a little bit. I'll have you waiting for that. But Saturday in the overnight hours, -3, and a pretty great day down at the Christmas market, too. It was nice and calm. You saw John Tory was able to wear his Toronto Maple Leafs club jacket there, not having to be wrapped up pretty bundled there, which is good. So it has been clear. We have been seeing just a little bit of graupel as well as enhancement just off of the lakes. It's been very scattered in nature. As you can tell, no system tracking on through, and we'll have this slight low pressure system, a very quick clipper. It's going to clip on by throughout Sunday, and that will actually bring us our best chance to see some flurries. So Sunday throughout Monday, depending on where you are, is depending on how much snow you could get. Off the shores of Huron as well as just off the eastern shores of Georgian Bay, you might get even more just because of the lake enhancement there, but closer to the GTA, not so much. In areas like Windsor up to Kingston, also seeing a little bit less. Now, another good part of the story is the wind gusts aren't very strong, so blowing snow not being a big part of our story. Just looking into this evening, Toronto -1, and we'll take you into Sunday morning, Toronto at -3. But like I said, when we come back, we're going to talk about our chance for a white Christmas and a couple other things you can do to enjoy the season.
Thanks, Amanda. This weather story to be continued. I look forward to that.
No problem.
More than 8,000 Canadians have died from apparent opioid overdoses since 2016, and the crisis shows no signs of slowing down. But 2 Ontario men are doing their best to help those battling addiction. And as CBC's Jason Vio reports, their work is having a big impact.
From the outside, it's a small coffee shop, but on the inside, it's much more. The Spiritual Soldiers Coffee Compound is serving a big need in the community. It's known as a sober bar, a safe space for people recovering from addiction.
I don't know if I'd be sitting here right now if I haven't found this coffee shop. I wouldn't actually.
Jay Aruda is just 21 years old, and the past several years have been rough. His addiction to OxyContin and fentanyl started in high school with a group of friends.
It brought me down pretty quick. I ended up getting kicked out of my house. I would steal from my parents, and it got really bad.
So bad that he eventually overdosed.
It was very scary. It woke me up a bit.
He's now 10 months sober, and this is the day he graduated a treatment program. Stepping out into the real world surrounded by temptation, this coffee shop serves as an unlikely safe haven.
You don't see anybody taking shots, and it doesn't bring back old memories or whatever. It's just, there's just no temptation in here. Everyone's smiling, everyone's happy, you're playing cards, you're dancing. It's like a sober bar.
The idea of a coffee shop for recovering addicts has had a huge reach. Vancouver, Toronto, Hamilton, Calgary, California, Texas, and Pennsylvania.
Hi.
Crime.
The issue of drug addiction hits very close to home for Deborah Altland. She heard about the sober bar and had to see it for herself, so she made the long journey from Dillsburg, Pennsylvania. Her 19-year-old son had a drug overdose.
At that point in time, I was told he only had less than 5% chance of living. I held his hands, and I said to him, I need to know you're in there or I have to let you go. And my son grabbed my hand so tight and sat straight up in bed, and I knew at that moment I couldn't let him go. I couldn't take him off the ventilator.
Her son pulled through after more than 20 surgeries, but his road to recovery is uncertain, and that inspired her to meet the people behind the sober bar.
Like all of us should be dead, but we sit here today to see somebody, extend their hand and say that I want to bring this to our community as well too, is like, I don't know.
Just the atmosphere in here, just their story. I was like, I need to do this. I need to bring this to the States. We don't have something like this.
Altland is taking this concept back to her community of 2,500. She plans to open a sober bar to help people recovering from addiction, their families, and her son. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
It means no worries for the rest of your days. It's our problem-free philosophy.
Disney's Lion King is prompting a debate, and it's all around the movie's trademark phrase, why Hakuna Matata is at the center of a petition. That's coming up after the break. The clock is ticking on the partial shutdown of the U.S. federal government. Sources say the White House and congressional Democrats are still talking, but an early end to the shutdown is unlikely. This afternoon, the Senate adjourned for the holidays. Stephen D'Souza has the latest.
As a rare Saturday Senate session came and went, Democrats made clear what it will take to get the government running again.
President Trump, if you want to open the government, you must abandon the wall. Plain and simple.
The partial government shutdown affects 15% of the federal workforce, workers caught in the middle of a fight over President Donald Trump's border wall.
Drugs are pouring in, human trafficking, so many different problems, including gangs like MS-13.
In a video posted to Twitter, Trump made his case for the wall.
The only thing that's going to stop that is great border security, with a wall or a slat fence or whatever you want to call it.
In an effort to rebrand the wall and woo Democrats, Trump tweeted this photo of a so-called steel slat barrier. Democrats say they support other forms of border security, offering up $1.6 billion for everything from drones to inspection equipment, just not a wall.
Is President Trump's bone to the hard right people? It's no way to spend $5 billion for political bone.
Schumer is referring to Trump's recent flip-flop on the shutdown. Just last week, the president said he would own the issue.
I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it.
But now he is blaming Democrats. He also had agreed to a temporary bill without funding for the wall, but then reversed his position when his usual media allies started criticizing him for breaking a campaign promise.
People who voted for him and want the wall and went to the polls to vote for that wall, they want to know how he's going to do this.
To avoid another reversal, Schumer says Trump must publicly sign off on any border deal before a vote. As negotiations continued, Donald Trump had lunch with lawmakers. But while he needs their support to end the shutdown, there were no Democrats at the table. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
And some developing news for you this hour. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was in Mali tonight. He visited Canadian troops involved in a UN peacekeeping mission. The visit was kept under wraps until this hour for security reasons. You're looking at the very first images coming into our newsroom. Canada has 250 military personnel in the troubled West African country, along with 8 helicopters. Duties include rescuing injured peacekeepers and UN workers and transporting troops and equipment. The first Canadian soldiers arrived in June. Canada has kick-started a campaign to win the release of 2 Canadians detained in China. That's according to comments by Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland during a teleconference with the media today. She says the arrests constitute a worrying precedent that has resonated with Canada's partners, and that Canada's ambassadors around the world are now beginning efforts to pressure our allies to call for the release of the 2 men. Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor were detained in apparent retaliation for the arrest of a top Chinese tech executive in Vancouver earlier this month. It means no worries, but the Swahili phrase Hakuna Matata is causing a lot of tension for Disney and its blockbuster movie, The Lion King, with many people questioning how the company can trademark the common phrase. Yelena Adzik explains.
As the song goes, Hakuna Matata, what a wonderful phrase. But it's also a lucrative phrase because Disney owns the trademark to it. And that has some people feeling it's not a problem-free philosophy.
Hakuna Matata. It means no worries.
Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase.
Hakuna Matata. Ain't no passing craze.
It means no worries for the rest of your days. It's our problem-free philosophy. Hakuna Matata.
The big problem, according to Toronto-based Zimbabwean activist Shelton Mpala, is that the trademark is, quote, an assault on the Swahili people and Africa as a whole. Mapala started an online petition to call for an end to Disney's rights to the phrase, and it already has more than 125,000 signatures from far beyond East Africa. Now, Disney has already owned the rights to Hakuna Matata in the U.S. for many years, but this issue is getting attention now because of an upcoming 2019 release of the live-action remake of The Lion King. Now, beyond that, last month, a Chinese company filed a trademark for use of the phrase on toys and balloons in that country, and that has many people wondering how and why a corporate entity could benefit so mightily from a traditional Swahili saying. It means no worries, but clearly not for the rest of Disney's days. No word yet on a resolution, though. Yelena Adzik, CBC News, Toronto.
Coming up, they might have fangs and multiple limbs, but spiders actually have more use to humans than just scaring them. We take a look at how a spider's venom is extracted and learn where it's used after the break. Stay with us. Well, some may find them ugly or frightening. I don't know, I think this guy behind me is kind of cute, but spiders may be more helpful to us than you think. Every week at the Royal Ontario Museum, researchers milk these spiders for venom. They hold them in place with pins, but the pins don't pierce the spiders, just surround them. Then they're given a small electric shock to stimulate their venom. That's collected into a small vial and shipped to a lab in Utah to be studied.
Most studies, the labs are looking into very potent venom from dangerous species. All the species we work with here are not dangerous, and yet they still have interesting stuff in their venom. They still have all these compounds that might be useful. No one studies that, so why not use it for research? Yeah.
Spider venom is used in painkillers and fertilizers. It's even being studied as a tool to fight cancer. The ROMS exhibit called Spiders, Fear and Fascination runs until January 6th. Amanda Weldon is back with a look at our extended forecast. Amanda, everyone's wondering, are we going to see a white Christmas? I'm certainly hoping for one.
Probably the most asked question from all of my family and friends besides, what did you get me for Christmas? Unfortunately, it's not a really heavy snowfall. And did you know, actually, Talia, there is an official rating for a white Christmas. You have to have at least 2 centimeters on the ground. But this is what we're looking at. So slight chance. So you're saying there's a chance. Toronto, well, you could get one. Montreal, Windsor, not so much. Ottawa, even a slight chance. The further north you get, the better it gets. Let's look into the history books before we move on to our forecast. So 50% chance for Toronto. So it's a 50-50 chance if you do live in the GTA. So maybe this is your calling. This is the sign. It's time to move to Yellowknife if you really want that true white Christmas. Well, Sunday afternoon, we do have some flurries in the mix. So 1 degree, feeling like -3, and it's all going to depend. I was talking to our meteorologist, Matthew Grinter, before this, and in the evening, we have some flurries as well. If we get those 2 centimeters on the ground, just because of some lake enhancement, that's likely to melt. But if we can get 4 centimeters on the ground Sunday through Monday, hey, it may stick out until Tuesday. Now, as we continue to move, we're talking about a couple of the events. The Christmas market, that's going to close on Sunday, so you still have a chance to head on out. A lot of these events are closing on Sunday, okay? So Sunday afternoon, 1 degree. You may even be getting into those flurries because we do have that quick clipper system that will be tracking across. And on the back end, we actually are sitting around that normal mark. And normal this time of year is around 1 degree. So anywhere around the GTA, hopefully we can get enough snow on the ground that we can actually keep a little bit of a white Christmas. But as for us here at the Weather Network, our fingers are just crossed.
You know what, Amanda? That's not all bad news. I'm excited for the flurries and the sunshine. So there's good weather to look forward to. I'm excited for it.
I like it. I like it.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 11. And we'll leave you with another look at the Toronto Christmas market. Have a great night.